Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas, and this is a channel called Wonder of Existence. Today we've got a kind of special episode that's related to the fact that Geert is so kind to, let's say, lead it, and he proposed the topic called information crisis. Maybe let's kick it off quickly with Geert, if you don't mind, just started it.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, the information crisis for me is everywhere. What I started with is my own thought, so I can do something on it. But everything we meet at this time is difficult in information. So we have at this moment a pandemic, or we have advertisement crisis. We have a pharmaceutical industry who tells us to cure us, but just make us more ill. So sometimes, not always. So we have a problem with all information we get and what to do with it. And for me, the question is, where did this start? So I just went back in time and said, well, maybe it's at the moment that Descartes, he started to divorce soul and body. Maybe it's the moment where this problem starts. So you have to see, well, is this the body? Is this the soul? But it's no unity, one unity. But maybe it's 700 years before Descartes, the Roman Catholic Church started you had the Holy Trinity, body, soul, and spirit, and they just removed spirit at that moment on a concile. They removed spirit, so you had only body and soul. So maybe it's there that started, and even more 5,000 years ago, there started the concept of one God. In the Middle East, that concept started. And maybe that's the problem. Well, what happens when that concept starts? What happened then? There was, first there was a tribe, the Jewish tribe, who was special. So they started to isolate themselves from the rest of the world. Well, that's what happens in this time with us, everybody, every individual. So is that the start of the individual problem we have at this moment? Everybody has to judge about all the information you get. So we are individuals with loneliness, with problems. Well, are we right? Are we not right? So this problem we are handling now, did it start at the beginning of the concept of one God? Well, that's and what do we have to do? What is necessary to do about this? How can we get out of this big problem that everybody feels himself alone with his own judgment? And sometimes you feel a group that agrees with you. You think they agree with you, but well, we can use the example of soccer. Well, go with 5 or 7 persons, form a team, and you will, within 10 minutes, you will notice that everybody has his own goal in it and tries to do something for themselves, and it's so difficult to form a real unity in this time.
Are you saying that's before this sort of problem started, that people didn't think individually?
I think that's what happens. So if you look at the old Indian or the Aztecs, and they had lots of gods, and they were, as a tribe, they were a unity. As a community, they had less individual problems than we have now. So that's my view on it.
So you mean like we are left like a humanity, instead of being a group of people, we are like left alone?
Left alone. And we have what's now in this moment. That's the way I'm looking at it. We have to form new communities on basic of interest in each other, or in a goal, a special goal. Say we want to have a biological food. We have a community. We form a community that tells the farmer we want to pay more for it, and that's an ideal. And around that sort of ideals, you can form a community, and that's completely different from what we are consuming the information at this time. Then you have to do something, and then you meet difficulties in forming a community. But that's what I think that needs to be done. But first, you need to have insight in what causes this loneliness, this individual. Is it wrong, or is it just a phase in development of humankind? And then at a moment you see what you have to do, what you have to start with, to have again some future, because that's what science only wants to know what was, and I'm interested in what are we going to do. So that's it's. I think it was caused by science, the science from this moment, that we are individuals now. But it's necessary. But we have to come out of this. And I think the first study you have to do is the thought. What is the function of thought?
Well, wait a minute. Let's just sum up that.
Yeah.
So before this particular problem that you see as a crisis, people formed tribes or lived in tribes,
communities,
with a community identity.
Yeah.
They had no individual identity.
No.
Most of their identity was I am of this tribe, or I am of this community. And then
so sort of similar like animals do.
Yeah. And for that.
Yeah.
That they don't think for themselves, and they don't have the individual problems because they don't think for themselves. It's always a problem of the group, and it needs to be solved by the group.
So basically, the head of the village, for example, says, "We're going to hunt." And
well, yeah, you would have a
hunt.
leader then, and that would make things clearer. But I mean, the responsibility is within the group, and the experience of the problem is a group thing. So it's a group identity, and then with maybe the discarding of multiple gods and monotheistic God and whatever, all those examples you gave all the way up to Descartes, created a movement of more and more and more individuality, individual identities, by taking away everything that was ever ruling the group. So you end up with a whole group of people who are suddenly thinking about themselves or for themselves, and the problems are individual problems, and of course they've got the individual responsibilities to solve those problems. And but where does the information come in? How would you call that? An information crisis?
Information crisis. Well, you can just look at this moment for that crisis, but
because everybody's got a different story about things, and there's with all these different individuals, all these individual ideas and opinions and views on a subject. So you've got information, instead of coming from one source into the group, you've now got it coming from a massive group in different ways, all coming to you. So that's a crisis, because you have to sift through all the information. Okay.
So, but the crisis starts with Galilei, Newton, who create a cosmos without morality.
Yeah.
It's only atom sort of planets. They move in the in the universe according to laws that have nothing to do with any morality, God, or something like that. And then you lack as a human being, you lack the being to have you lack the unifying community that depends on gods, on spiritual beings that lead us.
Yeah.
And I think for being happy, you need a basic confidence in where you're living on. And now they're searching confidence in the math. That's some sort of security it gives to people, or statistics,
Yeah,
or
foundation.
Foundation is it? Yeah, it's foundation. Yeah, and if you don't have that foundation, what do you have to do with what comes to you in this world? What do you have to do? That delivers a crisis.
Yeah.
Because it can cause a war against everybody, and that's what you see at this moment.
Yeah.
A simple virus can drive families out of each other without any. Well, both parties are not sure of what they're thinking, but the quarrel is great.
Yeah.
The wars are great. Individual wars.
Well, even more important than that is the individual existential crisis that people experience. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? What is the meaning? What is my purpose? And if I'm just a lump of flesh made by accident, and there's nothing afterwards, then why do I have morality? What is this? And where did it come from? Who's going to lead me? And are there any consequences?
No.
And most people experience that as a crisis, and it's a big question about their whole existence.
Yeah.
And unless you get that sorted,
Yeah.
then you can't deal with all the information that's coming at you.
No.
And people are scared. It's an existential crisis, existential fear.
Yeah.
That they don't know why they are.
Sorry.
But why, for me, the thought, the act of thinking, I think that's what we need to go further into it before we can again know what is necessary and what we have to do.
But the question would be, why would you like to go to how it used to be? So, sort of go to the animal schema.
No, I don't
That's
want
how-
to go back to the animal consciousness
Because
of a group.
you're saying that in the past people used to group up, and they were sort of thinking like a ants and city.
Yeah.
Like unit is not important. It's just the one big flow of individuals grouped up and acting as one.
I don't want to go back.
So where's this information crisis within that?
If you don't know that you can act, you have a responsibility in this cosmos, in this universe, to form again from out of free individuals communities. If you don't know that that's possible or necessary, maybe, well, what should you do? Just lie in bed and or just make an end on your life. But if you know that that's necessary and everybody has to look for his own topic to form communities in, then there is new enthusiasm for life. Then that will give sense, give meaning to people why to live here. Well, that's that you can call it a meaning crisis too.
Yeah, well, it is. And it's also distraction. If you don't understand why you, in yourself as an individual, if you haven't decided for yourself, I'm here because,
Yeah.
and I understand that, and that's my foundation, then every problem is going to be a distraction. And you're busy with this instead of being busy with your foundation, and that can knock you off your foundation, and that can take you somewhere else, but that's important as well. And you lose yourself in all the information, and you don't know why you're doing what you do in the end. Is it because somebody else tells you? Is it because what do you do when 10 people are telling you to do a different thing?
And we have some problems with a view on humankind, on a view on what reality is, that is so materialistic. But the materialist will never tell you that he has a view on mankind. It's neutral. He tries to give it a neutral. Well, this is neutral. What this is objective. But that comes from Descartes, who divorces an external world and an internal world. So soul is internal, and your body and the world is external. And if you don't know that only, and that's, I think, the function of thought is, well, if I have to explain that if someone is blind and he's operated on his eyes, and they are cured, so if everything is okay, then he doesn't see anything. He only sees spots, and he doesn't know what the spot mean. If what he did normally, he just felt the object, and then with a thought he combines the two. Then in slow way he's going to see. So the thought, with everything we see, we do it by thinking. So it's only half. The seeing with our eyes is not giving us any object. Only the combination of object and senses, those combinations, that gives you objects. So that means that everybody is one, everything is in fact one thing, because without a thought there wouldn't be any objects, only spots or colors but even the color red, we can only think. We recognize the color red with our thoughts, and not with any, that's not an objective thing. So that's mainly, I think, causing this problem. That we are not conscious of our own task in this world. We make the objects. Without our own thought, there wouldn't be anything. And we are not conscious. Lots of people are not conscious of that they're thinking to see something, and they don't know that the thought is underlying it. And without a thought, no object. So that is a big problem too. If we're not conscious, and that is needed on universities, that this consciousness, it's not saying that it's science is untrue. No, this consciousness has to be taught or shown or to people who are growing up, and they have to talk about it and investigate. Try to stimulate the investigation of this thing, and without if everybody, within 100 years, people are taught that atoms are there, but it was a thought model. It was no reality. So that's within 100 years, everybody thinks atoms are real. You can see them or you can feel them. That's not what it began with in 100 years ago with Einstein. But he was making the thought. He thought he could find a measure from an atom. Well, then you start with that idea of that it's real. So there, the education but education starts with people who are educated themselves in this same system. So a teacher of physics believes in atoms too in this time. There are not many teachers in physics who know what it means. An atom is a thinking model and not reality. As a thinking model, it's reality, but that's different from.
So it's basically saying that you're receiving one piece of information, which is not the truth or anything. It's but you're getting the idea, a story, then a thought, and that's reproduced by people. So everybody believes that's what it's about.
And they are glad they can.
Which gives them a foundation.
Some sort of.
Until something else comes along, and then they're completely shattered by it. So.
Yeah.
Again.
And I think the what you see in using all those doubting types, they are starting with having problems in meaning. They are the ones who have to start this investigation.
Yeah. Are you following this?
Yeah. I'm listening.
Okay. Because what I get is. It comes onto the topic of meaning. As long as there's meaning, people can carry on.
Yeah.
People have got some idea of it's worth living for, and meaning is still being dictated to us. This is your meaning. This is why you're here. This is what you should be doing. This is what makes you up. This is the building blocks of life. This is how it happens. And we've always had one source telling us, a sort of authority telling us how it is, and then with the disappearance of God, religion, state, science, now we don't know who to turn to for the foundation to give us meaning, or to the source to give us meaning, which gives us a foundation. And when all that information falls apart because there's too much of it and it's conflicting, then we end up in crisis, and the only way to create a foundation and meaning is to go into yourself with your own thoughts and create your own
but if
foundation.
you don't trust your own thoughts.
If you don't trust your own thoughts, because you've not learned to trust your own thoughts, or not learned to think, but only to accept what other people have told you to think.
And they tell us such difficult things in math that you're glad that you can repeat, and then you're glad.
Yeah.
But you don't.
I don't understand math, so I'll just take it for granted. What they're experts. Yeah. They're the experts. They know what they're talking about, so it must be true.
It's a real consciousness of authority.
It is an authority problem, yeah.
So it's authority
and the
crisis
authority is an authority crisis, but the authority has to come back. Everything has to come back to the individual. And we take it further to what you were saying before. It's not that you go back to the tribe mentality or the tribe identity, but you carry on until you've got trust in your individual identity, and then from out that you start creating new communities based on understanding of individuality, and not creating them out of some kind of fear, support, necessary foundation. No, you know who you are, and you've got that foundation, you're strong, and then it's out of interest that you create new communities.
Interest, and I think the word love would fit into.
Yeah.
Because for love you need to be For interest, you need to be able to love another and not to hate him.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the top team sports. They are creating a unity on the end consciousness. You have to be a robot in a team. You have to do what the trainer dictates, and it's really, 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 really old. It's an old. So I have to look for possibilities to exercise, forming unities, and maybe that's the first realm is the realm of game. You can exercise free unities, free communities to play with that team of being interested in each other and the problems with that. But that's what we will meet. It's not so easy to be interested in someone.
No.
I think was it Krishnamurti? I think in the 70s, I was with talking of him, and he in the Rai here in Amsterdam, and he said, well, the mankind at this moment is 1% altruism and 99% egoism. So don't be illusionist. This is a real exercising worth, I thought then. So we have to exercise in love, being interested in people, being interested in nature. That's why I started with the example of forgetting to see the development of the nature.
Developing
the nature.
Developing, which is what we're doing. We're developing and discussing a wonder, a sense of wonder for everything to do with existence. Which is a damn good title, if you ask me. It is, and from out that wonder, you can meet other people who like-minded. And not, it's from bottom-up community instead of from top-down community.
Yeah.
And it is a crisis. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I understand it is a crisis. I see it around me. I go through it myself in small doses, or I don't call them crises. This is just a sort of an awakening. Yeah. But I see enough people in crisis, and it's been accelerating over the last years as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's really going fast.
In every area of society, it's accelerating when people are just pulling their hair out. They don't know which way to turn. They don't know why they're here. They don't know what they're doing. And they don't know where they're going.
No.
That's even more scary.
And then
not to have any idea of what's out there to wait for you. Is it worth living because maybe there's nothing there?
No.
Maybe the world's going to be gone. You know.
So then you see the world of addiction, workaholic, alcoholic, all those. That's only fear for what happens if I just see what it does to me.
Yeah.